I'm going to be upfront with you. No sugarcoating. We're talking about old Game Informers. Kind of in like a lost media way, but more so in a form that can be like, I don't know, a little collective museum of some old magazines. And I talk a lot. First part of the video is me kind of yapping, and then there's like the closest thing I can get to a presentation and critique section you can skip to, where I'm like really just going through the magazines and admiring like the art and the aesthetic and all that. Because there's a ton to enjoy about these, and if you like nostalgia, it's here big time. These are really magical. So I'm just going to start talking, and I'm not going to stop, and I'll see how far that gets me. Buckle in. What's up? I'm Jake, Game Informer. Even for something that boxes itself into a general niche like video games, it's one of the biggest magazines out there. And if you're here, it's almost a guarantee that you've at least heard about it, probably more likely that you've flipped through a couple. It has a long history, dating back to '91, bought by GameStop in 2000, and with lots of promotions and quality releases month over month, Game Informer saw massive success. By June 2017, it was the 5th most popular magazine by copies circulated. But by August of 2024, they shut down. GameStop discontinued Game Informer after 368 releases. The digital archive was taken down, the staff were laid off, like all seemed lost for Game Informer. I guess not really, like that's for later. Magazines are incredibly unique to me because they're like short-term consumption options, but the variety in which they can be consumed is insane. Just front to back, there is so much a single issue has to offer, even if you're just skimming and you're not really reading, right? It's like a little book. A book you get to read about, like usually a current topic, once a month. And for someone who may like to pore over these things from cover to cover, it's definitely a bit ritualistic in nature, just getting one of these in the mail. Because once a month, you get some excitement, a little buzz, and you can settle down with one of these and spend so much time just digesting all the content you could ever want on a silver platter of whatever the fuck. But that's kind of the catch too, once a month. And while we're always in the present, a magazine typically has to say something that is relevant about the topic in the present month that it would be releasing in. I guess this isn't really true of all magazines, but Game Informer is especially bound to this rule. Just not exclusively so. It's just part of all the wizard shit I'm trying to get to the heart of. These, when done well, tend to be perfectly curated experiences. But in the same breath, they're pretty casual, right? Meant to feel very inviting and can be read at almost any pace with any level of interest while still being ideally engaging enough to be worthy of your time. And mind too that they're time capsules, relevant for a set amount of time and then forever a relic of that period. And the sunshine for magazines would never last forever either. Moving to digital content consumption, it was just a matter of time before a legion of free websites would just outpace like what is otherwise an expensive magazine that has to be printed and shipped. So you can kind of see how and why magazines are struggling, especially now. I mean, a lot of them have digital-only issues, opting to give it to you through an actual web browser rather than having it mailed to your house. So you can kind of see how and why magazines are struggling, especially now. Because really, a Game Informer is like a premium games-oriented feed. Something you can flip through, very similar to scrolling through blog sites and similar feed-oriented web pages. And I think it's kind of a shame that this sort of medium for entertainment has been just slowly edged out by digital media scrolling online. Because I think the two are very different. They are, but they're so similar in style that one almost entirely swallowed another. It's almost impossible to beat digital. And don't get me wrong, there are times when the internet scrolling can be beneficial. But look at it in its lowest form, at its dirtiest. Scrolling TikTok or Reels. That's just a waste of time, no matter which way you spin it. And I relate it to the magazine because, again, you're, I guess in this sense, scrolling through a feed, a semi-curated experience in a constantly changing environment, one that's much more fluid. But the problem is, there's no start to end about it. You get this all the time, and when you get it all the time, it's special none of the time, and it just ends up becoming sheer waste. I don't care how many recipes you learn about or tips that you saved that you think you'll need someday, because look, I did the same thing for so long, and one day I realized that it never even mattered. I could no longer remember nor care about most of the probable 100+ hours of scrolling I've done through the years. I saved all the same posts, but for what? To use once or twice? Make a recipe, I guess? I've sent my friends some of the funniest shit I've ever seen, but for what? because it just keeps going. Like, it's addicting. It's good, but there's never an end to it. You know what I mean? It's just this nonstop game of consumption. And when I came to that realization, I just said, nah, fuck it. Like, I'm throwing it away. Because for me, nothing kills media consumption like media for the pure sake of consumption. I mean, that's what this is. But like, there's a time when something like that should start and end. And because the websites, especially like TikTok or Instagram, they do not want you off of them. The start and end is a cat and mouse game that gets dragged out as you give them an inch and they turn it into a mile. And you're plunged into this like endless ocean of content. At least a Game Informer is like creative, it's inventive, and they're memorable, with a clear beginning and end and lots of packed in content in between, even if you might not be interested in all of it. We're going to get to that soon. But teams of artists, writers, designers, and editors worked with other teams to pull together one of these every single month. And in terms of pure expression, a carefully crafted magazine is, I think, one of the most prominent things humanity has ever put forth for itself. If we as a species have anything that says like, look, this is what we can do. We're struggling to stay alive on the planet, but we can still create, write, and honor some things that we really love in a way that meant something to us, then the magazine would be the thing that I would prove that point with. And yeah, like, some magazines are still dog shit, still used and abused in a misinformation tabloidy way. But at its peak, right, at the pinnacle of magazines, Game Informer belongs up there with the rest. I mean, these are some genuinely unbelievable magazines, especially looking back. I cannot wait to dig into this thing. But bear with me because, it's my video. I'm going to talk about me for a minute. So, then we'll get on to the magazines. So these that I'm showing off aren't actually mine. I used to have a hefty Game Informer collection, and I'm not sure if that's in my brother's possession or if I gave it away or did like half of both. It really could just be sitting in like a garage somewhere in a little bin, and I have no idea. I guess I haven't really thought about where they are until now. Anyway, flash to like May of 2024, I went into a local antique store, and like, what do you know? Right on top of this like magazine clutter on a knee-high bench right in the front door. It was the back door. There's a stack of someone's Game Informers, like maybe 20 of them. And I just like full stop. I didn't even know what to say. They were as beautiful as the day I lost them. A lot of these were copies of magazines I had already received personally through my previous Game Informer subscription. But you never really know what you had until you lost it, And I guess at the time I wasn't thinking like, oh, I'm going to go home and see if I have my Game Informers here. I was just like, fuck it, I'll buy some. You know what I mean? Like, I sold my coveted golden holographic copy of Majora's Mask for the N64 on eBay when I was 15. Partly because I felt bad that it was collecting dust and not being played, partly because I wanted to make a little cash off it. And do you know what I sold it for? 20 clams. And I really thought I was doing something with this, like it was from a place of sincerity. I felt it was unfair to charge a lot of money for this game, and I really wanted someone else to enjoy it like I did. But like now, man, I'm the schmuck that sold his collector's edition Majora's Mask for 20 bucks. That doesn't feel good. I still wish I kept it, even now. And what I'm getting at, I promise I'm almost done, is that I've never really made an effort to really preserve or do anything with like, a little collection of magazines, which is why it's God knows where. But looking at these things, let me tell you, 75 cents a piece. This shit don't grow on trees. I took all the change I had in my car and I snapped up the ones I wanted. And I feel like I knew what I wanted to do this time. Like I was going to use them in a creative way, like frame them or something. I suppose I never really figured that part out. They've kind of been sitting on my desk for the last year, and I'm like, fuck it, maybe I should make a video on Game Informers, I guess. But I limited myself to like 6 of the coolest copies, 2 of which I haven't even had before, the Final Fantasy 15 and Diablo 4 edition. And that's about as far as I went. I think now I would rather get the covers professionally scanned, A, so I can have it digitally, and B, so I can maybe make some sort of collage poster, like with the covers next to each other, just to, that way I can make the covers a little smaller, and maybe make it a size that wouldn't be too big, because I was going to frame these at first, and I'm like, well, fuck, a frame is 20 bucks a pop if I get the one I want from Michael's, and I have to like mount it and everything. And when I think about it, that's like 120 bucks before tax, and I really didn't want to, like, they're cool, but like, I got these for less than $5. I'd like to keep the other thing. on the cheaper end of things. Because I won't lie, like the big appeal of the Game Informer magazine was always the cover, at least for my tastes. Like, of course, I love everything inside and I plan to dig into that, but the covers on these things really sell these. I know I can find the digital covers online and like do the same thing, but there's just this level of like photographic standard I have for authenticity, I guess. And I like the physical scan, like, you know, there's little creases on the bridge and everything. Like, I just like that actual genuine cover look feeling, you know, on the medium it's on. I don't know, maybe that's weird. If you can think of something better, shoot your shot, I guess. But back to my point about the covers, they were always extra special to me, so characteristic of everything within the pages. And at their best, I mean, like this exact Zelda magazine was huge for me. I remember pulling this out of the mailbox in 9th grade coming home from high school, and for who I was and what I was into at the time, this was massive. At that age, possibly life-changing, and looking back, I can't say for sure that it wasn't. But this is the magazine that is A, everything about the Nintendo Switch that we were allowed to know, and B, everything about the new Zelda at the time. Now, I was and I still am a huge Zelda fan, but it was such a predominant interest in my childhood, and I felt like, especially as a kid who had a Wii U and was playing a Wii U, I felt like A, I was waiting forever for a new Zelda. Like after Skyward Sword, it felt like I was being drip-fed something newer, but not necessarily new. I mean, we had Wind Waker and Twilight Princess HD, the 3DS remakes, Hyrule Warriors, and all this stuff about some delayed Zelda Wii U game, which is, you know, what I was looking forward to. So it felt like they were kind of kicking around the ball, so to speak, and it didn't really hit me that we were getting a new Zelda until I pulled this out of my mailbox and I shit my pants. And it was right then I realized we're getting something better than my Wii U. Yay! And the first page, like as if the cover itself isn't like pristine in its own right behind it, there's a full face advertisement for Zelda. Like at this point, I had not fucking seen this. This was like hype, dude. This was awesome. And it was like about the Nintendo Switch too. Like, oh my God, how exciting. Especially at the time, it was like, whoa, this is a really dastardly console Nintendo's making. You know, at least for a high schooler, give me some grace here. It just was, and it still is, a very exciting thing for me to look at. So this one is very near and dear to my heart. This is like a must-have out of the pile at the antique store. You know, I'll hit this point now. I used to read Nintendo Power as a kid. And of course, I don't know if I have any of them that aren't beat and torn to absolute shit. Turns out when you give 3 kids a magazine, they pass it around and destroy it in the process. So I do wish I preserved them a little bit, because when Nintendo Power ended, I was sad. And I remember in the very last issue, they had that poster that was like all the issues from ever. And I had that on my wall for the longest time, but I moved around a whole room, and then I moved from one room to another, then I moved like around that room again. So, you know, just over time, I think it's folded up somewhere in my possession, somewhere, like kept safe, but like I can't really display it anymore. It's kind of sad. Sorry, I'm getting ahead of myself. When Nintendo Power ended, I was a little sad, right? But in the same stroke, it really does feel like Game Informer carried Nintendo Power's torch into the future, and I think they did it right, too. Like, there isn't always a Nintendo section or an issue, and because Game Informer covers a broader set of platforms, it won't always talk about this. But every magazine is very consistent in terms of quality and content. Some are better than others, sure, but they've always been very good. And when it comes time to talk about Nintendo, I feel like Game Informer really does acknowledge and respect these as much as anything else. Like, just flipping over to the Control Edition, there's just a 2-pager that's what's next for the Nintendo Switch. And like, this one isn't too special, right? But even in a non-Nintendo magazine, or I guess, you know, with non-Nintendo articles just popping up, there's still activity going on in Nintendo World. This one is from April 2019, so I imagine Nintendo maybe like held a direct a month before, and there was enough to write something about it, but it's also not really the main talking point of the month, right? Just small enough to warrant 2 pages. And so while it's not so unique on its own, I want to pick up on something. And this is just going to be so obvious, but I just want to put it out there, you know, so we're not taking anything for granted. Game Informer is really good at talking about games, right? It has one priority: to talk about any old, upcoming, or usually currently releasing games in a way that is appropriate. Some are going to have less to say than others, but it does this, big or small. It honors some classics. It covers previews for upcoming games that we don't know a whole lot about. And then you get the actual big name articles for like, holy shit, here's the big one. And I really like that this page specifically is taking the time and space to just give a nod to some pretty big deal titles on the Switch. Link's Awakening Remake, Mario Maker 2, The Three Houses. Astral Chain for like the 3 Astral Chain fans watching this. But the articles are groundwork. 1, for real fans to indulge in, or 2, to expose you to games you might not have had any interest in. Because in these small bite-sized pieces, you can go, okay, I remember Link's Awakening, or I know about Mario, what's this about? And I guess you could call the magazine like one big walking advertisement, but it's more of like a Six Flags. That doesn't make any sense. It's just giving you this exposure to maybe something that you might have never considered before, like these little tidbits about games and upcoming things that you're like, I heard about it. Yeah, I'll peek and see what it says. Look at the pictures. You know what I mean? Maybe the word I'm trying to get at is accessibility. Because remember, you flip through one from the beginning and then you find this. So for me, I feel like it's really cool. Like this is worth stopping on. I sort of feel like I'm smelling the roses here. And I guess this kind of sideballs into just the general flow of Game Informer. The opening piece is probably one of the more important pieces to get right, if I had to say. Like, I don't know, I'm not a designer. But I noticed that the menu page of every magazine opens very similarly. The very first page set aside for a brief foreword about the special game this month, whatever's on the cover, basically. And then eyes follow to the right and it's got all sorts of shit. Fallout 76 was also a semi-main article in the Black Ops 4 edition, Resident Evil 7 in the Switch edition, interviews, afterwards, previews, etc. This strokes the big pieces. Like, it's just dish out things that you might want to see, not necessarily something that you're going to want to see. And I'll note that a single Game Informer will actually talk about significantly more topics and even games than it shows you on the menu page. But this hits more of the topical subjects to kind of get your foot in the door, to give you a hint at what's like deeper in this magazine without giving the whole thing away. It's really like to whet your appetite. And there's differences between actual issues, both in design, topics, quality, and so on. But I do want to make the point that every single first page is consistent in approach and design, and I think it works quite effectively. To some newer folk, it might introduce them to all the concepts within a Game Informer, but more importantly, it's welcoming all of its regular readers back, right? Pulling you into a frame of mind that's ready to engage with it. I feel like I gotta tone down the autism a little bit because I'm not here to tell you how it works. I pointed it out because I think it's really cool. Like, I really appreciate how engaging this is trying to be. I'm just gonna, give myself the time. This will be like the critique/analysis section, just basically where I flip through and talk about some pages I liked in the Game Informer, like show it off. You know what I mean? I'm not really as serious about it as I make it sound, but like if you skipped here from the intro, then welcome. And fuck you, where's my like? Okay, let's start where anyone would. I'm just gonna open some Game Informers, and we're gonna talk about them together. I do want to bring up the gallery page. It seems like a tradition almost to just have some sort of gallery page. I think they feature in every Game Informer. I don't know if they started it all the way at the beginning or not. But I like being able to flip through, essentially like the appetizers, right? Like you had your menu page plus like anything else in there. There's your advertisements. But then you get to the art section, like the fan art. It feels like there's some community input on these things to some extent. And there really is, like a little bit. But I like this thing. It's very raw. It appeals to me as a human being that is capable of creating and digesting art, right? It's very human. It's authentic. And then basically right after that, you have like your small first courses, right? Like Black Ops 4 Game Informer, the game designers of the future. Like, it's a 4-page little article on women in game design, right? And then you flip to the next page right after that, like maybe that wasn't your cup of tea. Boom! A strong grasp of history. Like, holy shit, that's pretty sick, right? And then you flip through this one and it's just a big piece about like early video game history and just cool tidbits about it. And then we get, oh my god, I forget, the good, the bad, the ugly. This is awesome. In the Black Ops 4 edition, the good is Diablo 3 is coming to Switch, but that's not all Blizzard has in store. The company says there are multiple Diablo projects in the works, although they are in various stages of development at the moment. I wonder if this was referencing Diablo Immortal. You guys have phones, right? The bad, former DICE CEO Patrick Soderlund is leaving Electronic Arts 12 years after the Swedish developer was acquired by EA. Wait, EA's not Electronic Arts? The ugly. Luigi is everyone's second favorite plumber, but you don't have to kill the guy. A recent Super Smash Bros. Ultimate Nintendo Direct presentation showed Luigi being scythed down by death itself. The bad. Developers are refuting claims by Sony Interactive Entertainment Worldwide Studios chairman Shaw Layden, that's a mouthful, that the company is open for business on cross-platform play. I remember when that was an issue. The ugly. Final Fantasy 15 director Hajime Tabata recently left Square Enix, and the company axed all future DLC for the title after March's episode Arden. I remember that one. That one sucks because I love Final Fantasy 15, and the DLC is pretty good. Episode Arden was awesome. I mean, in story, I guess not in gameplay like all the way, but I really liked it. And I'm like, damn, no more? I really like 2-pagers. Like a 2-pager like this. Something that's meant to take up more than one and like bleed into the other, you know what I mean? These are always very cool. These are eye-catching. It's like the whole image is in both pages, being projected. It's very attention-grabbing. You go just a little further down in the same magazine. Boom, hottest indie games of GDC 2016. You're flipping through the Nintendo Switch version / Zelda. Boom, changing the formula, like right there, smack in your face. I mean, how cool. And then, like, what's really cool about this article, because it's a main article, is you start to flip through it, and it's dolled up much differently than the other ones. And there's actual, like, textures and decals and designs on the pages. And it kind of goes out of its way to break up sections of the actual pages, so it feels like each individual page has more on it. Flip just through that a little bit, boom, a new take of an old legend. I mean, how fucking sick. And then this is like the Breath of the Wild part of it. Like, they just give you everything you want to know right up front. They're saving the best for last, obviously. I mean, Breath of the Wild was a huge deal. And it's crazy that I'm looking at this magazine again, and it's not like in anticipation for playing Breath of the Wild. Like, this isn't even the most recent game anymore. Quote unquote, Tears of the Kingdom ripoff. But then you take another flip. Look at that, like Mario, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know, I'm not the craziest Mario guy, but I can still respect it for what it is. Like, this is the big Switch edition. You keep flipping down, they're giving you like, oh, Splatoon 2, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, you're getting Elder Scrolls 5, which everyone was so excited for. And then flip right past that, boom, Morrowind. Like, this is all in the same magazine. And what's really neat about these is that, like I said earlier, you can flip through it, cover to cover if you want, and you don't have to read everything, but it still offers a lot in terms of what can I get just out of flipping through this. Same magazine, boom, the most anticipated games of 2017. Man, Persona 5 is on this list? I see them double dipping with Breath of the Wild. Destiny 2, god damn, son. Holy shit. Red Dead Redemption 2, that's insane. If we flip over to the Rage 2 issue, and you open that, in one of the earlier articles, beyond all the very small bite-sized early stuff, something hacks and bribes. I think I can say it this far in the video, but I really don't want to test it. And this one isn't like anything crazy. It's just about how, like, esports cheating, this and that. Like, it's not even about something specific that happened. It's just like talking about the issue. But it's very, very simple. Like, boom, right there. Arial font 17. Like, let's go. And it really doesn't have to be super impressive to catch your attention, especially for something as simple as just a 2-pager. And then you flip forward a little bit more, looking through the game streaming future. And like, I remember this was a big topic at the time too. Like, oh, games are moving. Like, it was one thing to be digital, but another thing to be cloud. You know what I mean? Like, this is back in the Stadia days. I saved like my first 3 or 4 paychecks to buy Stadia. And I really felt burned by that for a while. I got the Founders Edition like pre-order or whatever with the cool controller that I still have that doesn't really work that well. And I thought the joke was on me, but not forever, because they refunded literally every cent I spent on Stadia, which was very nice. It was like getting a paycheck. Flip another couple pages, boom, holding back the tide. And then they have just 2 pages down. This was very interesting, and not interesting like seriously, but interesting almost in an ironic way. Every battle royale game ever, and it's like a flowchart game for like a battle royale. I don't know, it's kind of weird, and it feels like oddly placed in a magazine like this. Like, I guess it's just at its core like entertainment for entertainment's sake. Like, maybe someone will, if you're not interested, you'll just flip past, and some little kid that's going through this that really likes Fortnite at the time is like, oh my god, let me do the flowchart. But it struck me as very like, I don't know, I feel like Game Informer pretty typically is, I guess maybe I'm just misunderstanding the audience at that time for Battle Royale. I forget, like, everyone was doing it, and it wasn't just really like kids. And even now, like, everyone does it. It's not just a kid thing. I always think like a kid thing when I think Battle Royale. And that's what I think half the time I play Marvel Rivals Comp. Like, it's just like, what are we doing? Am I playing with a bunch of 12-year-olds here? I don't know, I'm getting off topic. This was cool. Every now and then they have one. We're actually going to flip to one right after this. They have almost like a catalog. right? We're actually going to open up to like a Christmas catalog pretty early on in one of these Game Informers. I think it's the Diablo one, but I can't be so sure. Like, this is pretty neat. I mean, like, you have a Pokemon hat, a Mario Kart, like, mushroom sweatshirt, but then you have, like, this Zelda relief mug, which is really sick. And then I've actually seen this on the Bungie store before. The Destiny Infinity Scarf, Red Dead 2 Pendleton Blanket, and then right on the outside, there's the Destiny Grimoire Anthology Volume 1, which I actually have. Maybe I'll do a video on those someday too. I have the Destiny 2, I have most of the volumes up while I was still playing the game. I think I have like 6 of them, plus the comic book collection. And then I have some like Dark Souls lore books too. Those are interesting. But I'm getting off topic. The Diablo 4 Game Informer release. That's the latest dated one I have. Holiday Buyer's Guide 2019. Like, this is very interesting too. You know, like it's a Christmas themed one. There's decals and designs on the paper. It's made to look textured. Then you have like playing cards, a handmade Italian leather USB cable organizer / earbud holder. That's not even like themed. That's just a holder. That's very interesting. We have a fidget toy. You got, you know, freaking playing cards, Stormtrooper. But like, this goes on a little bit further. Like, look at this. A Tesla coil lighter. I used to have one of these actually when I was like 16 or 18, one of the two. Like, I thought it was cool, but it makes this sound when you turn it on that I really can't get past, and I'm much more of a traditional lighter kind of guy anyway. I would carry around matches if they weren't so inconvenient. But you got like sauces, you got some game stuff, some not. And I remember flipping through this and I'm like, what the hell, like, is this? Like, I see it, and I think it's cool, like, I can respect it. I love a good old-fashioned catalog, but some of these are just, like, dead-ass, head-ass, like, normal things. You know what I mean? But then some of these are super... Is nerdy a slur? Overwatch Ultimate Pachimari Zip-Up Hoodie. Hot Wheels Mario Kart Circuit Track Set. Like, that is extra nerdy. You flip another one, you got that mug that heats itself up on an electric pad. You got some D&D dice. This says Furbo Pet Treat Plus Monitor? What the fuck is that? You seeing this? Number 5 right there on the catalog over here? What is that? A Furbo Pet Treat Plus Monitor. I'm confused. You got like the Beats wireless headphones. I think it just tickles my funny bone looking at this thing. there's books on the right hand side. D. Permanent record by Edward Snowden. Like, what? This is just crazy. I love when it feels so like unhinged or out of pocket. Then you take a flip. Do you want a Dutch oven or an Imperial Star Destroyer? The Star Destroyer is $700. The Dutch oven is $900. Holy shit. I'm going to Goodwill. And while we're in the Blizzard issue, let's take a look at some of the art in this one, because this was very similar to the Switch edition one, and that it had a lot of back-to-back things because Blizzard was up to a lot of, I don't know if they were releases for that year specifically, but they were up to a lot that was coming out. So you open it up, the Blizzard issue, sick 2-pager. Flip one more page, we're talking about Diablo 4. Like, how sick. I still haven't played Diablo 4. I don't know, it goes on sale every now and then, and I'm like, I might, but I just haven't pulled the trigger. Like, when the Diablo 2 remaster came out, I played that so much, I just feel like Diablo'd out, and I haven't played Diablo 2 in a couple of years now. But you flip through it. I really like the concept art and the in-game screenshots that they add to these articles, and to a lot of articles in general, but, you know, because these are the main ones, you're going to get a lot more artwork than usual. But I like that some of these pictures take up more than one page. Like I said earlier, it just kind of helps break up this reading and make it more like visually interesting. Something that I really respect about Game Informer is how you can just like indulge in something that's coming up that you're really excited about. I remember I did that for Destiny 2, and then they had another Game Informer for Forsaken. And it's just fun like getting your hands on these, especially when it's actually a game like you actively play or you're interested in, because this is like, I guess on a professional level, like only everything you're allowed to know about this game. Like, you probably could scrounge this information up somewhere, but these like dedicate themselves to giving you a deeper look than you would normally get otherwise. Like, no website, very few websites are this ambitious in a sense of like, you know, they want you there, they want you to scroll past the ads. They'll write what they can, but a lot of like, I mean, you have Paul Tassi, I guess he writes some like half decent articles every now and then, but He makes better YouTube videos, no offense. But these are like, you know, they're written by a team, curated by a team. Like, I can just respect the amount of effort that went into something like this to really give you what you want if this is what you came here for. You go over to Overwatch 2. Now, this is a... Man, I had my days with Overwatch. Look at this first fucking page in here. Right, the big-ass robot up top. I don't think we saw that once. Right, there's a section here. Oh, let me see if I can find it. It is rich. Actually, this is bad enough. Work on Overwatch 2 began in earnest in early 2015, right alongside the development of Overwatch. Huh? It was talking about how Blizzard dreamed big out of the gate and, you know, cross-platform play and universal accounts on the next page. Like, that was controversial. You couldn't even get your account in for like the first, I don't know, 2 days or so. The story you asked for. No, this is insane. Overwatch 2's story has been years in the making, with most of its plot points extending into the animated shorts Blizzard periodically releases online. This was talking about how, like, we're getting a story mode for Overwatch 2. Let me Google this. Let it be known, it's May 14th, 2025. Let me fucking Google if they've even released more than like a mission or two of the story mode. Oh yeah, we got some, this is back when I did play Overwatch 2 for a little bit. We got the invasion missions, and I guess this guy's saying it's been a year and a half since then, and they've had nothing. This was, from what I understand, Overwatch 2 was coming around to give it a new engine, you know, newer, like, whatever they needed. But it was supposed to come with a story mode. That was like the big sell for Overwatch 2, and it was free to play, you know, ended up being that way with the battle passes and all this and that. But it just like didn't drop with it, and they're like, oh, sorry, we delayed it. And then it just didn't come out like ever. They did the invasion missions, and I guess if what I'm seeing is right, I'm looking at some other things too. It might just be like a rock that forever gets kicked down the road until it either gets canceled or scrapped or what. Oh, I guess they just laid everyone off and said we don't have plans for PvE to tell you about yet. Oh well, whatever. I don't really care. I guess I'm just talking. I'm talking and I'm looking. God damn, this Overwatch 2 section is huge too. Then you go over to the Warcraft section for all my Warcraft fans out there. I personally can't fucking stand the game, but you know, to each their own. I guess at least the concept art is cool, or whatever these black and white photos are. Dragons and drafting, like who gives a fuck about Hearthstone either, but like here it is if you do. Which is still very cool, like that big blast of like back to back to back to back. And then like afterwards, you get a lot of these. Like I'm not going to go through the whole game Inform. I'm just kind of flipping through things I do and don't like. If you flip through some of these, it's like, okay, here's a small piece about Jedi Fallen Order. Medal of Honor. Trials of Mana. And then you get into like actual reviews. Like you have the Outer Worlds, Destiny 2, Shadowkeep, and the same Diablo magazine. Wow, it's that long ago. But it doesn't sound like it's that long ago. Shadowkeep was, I was very excited for that because they finally added like the cross progression, and I got it on my PC. They were moving it from Blizzard to Steam, and then Shadowkeep was like, okay. They gave Shadowkeep a 9, by the way, which is how you know these things are fucking... I'm not even gonna say it. Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Ghost Recon Breakpoint. Ooh, let's look at the... Okay, in the control copy, there's some pretty cool ones. Like, right in the beginning, the rise and fall of Telltale games. It's this huge piece about Telltale games and, like, lawsuits against Telltale, running out of breath, keeping game industry leaders accountable. The final blow. There's an afterword of Resident Evil 2 in here, which is nice. I like the afterwards, you know, just like I want to say something about this again. The Witcher Tales. Oh, and then this is cool. Choice and Consequence, like a nice 2-pager that actually opens up on a medium-sized article, kind of impressively. And you flip through and you got like all sorts of shit in here. Telltale games, Life is Strange, The Witcher, Mass Effect. It's kind of like talking about the evolution of tabletop games that are role-playing games into like their best and most unique manifestations in video games. Oh, then boom, Paranormal Activity. This is sick. Yeah, I don't know why Control was like a big deal at the time. I don't really remember all about it. Maybe it was just like, you know, it was being hyped out of nowhere and that's all you could like see about. Remember like Anthem? I literally remember 2 days before it launched, there was like a company that was talking about how Anthem was definitely going to shake the game's like sphere, and it was going to be like game of the year immediately. And You saw how that went. But Control was also big in that same right. I mean, wow, just flip the page once. Holy shit. I mean, this is so cool. Flip it more, it's getting into more of the actual game itself. There's so much in terms of aesthetic and concept art here. Oh, because it was related to Alan Wake, I forget. Man, I haven't played Control in a long time. Oh, and then you have Spider-Man Award Bait Edition. It's like a fake, like a parody cover for Game Informer. Oh, it's like a April Fool's, mini Game Informer inside a Game Informer. I like that it was talking about parody games like Star Fox Maker, because right here I really thought this was just a ironically glowing review of Fallout 76 at the time. But no, it's Fallout New 76. I think the joke would have been that Fallout 76 was a good game. Alright, I'm going to give 2 more things a look through and then we'll call it a day. Flip through most of these, and I'm actually returning to the Control copy because I forget there was an article in here I really wanted to cover. Boom! A Storm of Neon, Bullets, and Blood. I think this is the coolest 2-pager I've laid eyes on. This is so fucking sweet. I love every single thing going on in these pages. You know what's interesting, especially as I flip through this? You could fool me into thinking that this is like an ad for Cyberpunk. Because it's got like a lot of, I wouldn't say the same aesthetics in terms of color and stuff. It feels like it could be. You look at the font and it's like, damn, that is whatever font they used for the Cyberpunk title. That's just like what that reminds me of looking at it. Of course, Cyberpunk came out after Rage 2. Like this was predating it, but it's just interesting because if you told me it was Cyberpunk, I would look at it and go like, yeah, sure, like I guess. But I really just like the overall decoration, the spray paint aesthetic, the color theming. I mean, this page with the collage of like in-game screenshots, I mean, it just looks so sick. And then you scroll 1 page past this article, a new hunter emerges. Like, this is so cool. It's always changing gears on you. And like when it's a big thing, like all in your face, it kind of tries to draw that out and do everything they can in creative terms with whatever they're working with. But then it switches. Ooh, speaking of Anthem. Okay, we got one more. This is one I bought because I really, really, really want this cover. Final Fantasy 15. Arguably my favorite Final Fantasy game to date. I don't even care. I don't care. I don't want to hear it. It's my favorite goddamn game. Boom, the Clearing Storm. This is like the big article, the Final Fantasy 15 one. This is sick. Not as cool as the other ones, I think, but it is still sick nonetheless. Like, it's just paying tribute. I wouldn't even say paying tribute. It's drawing focus to Final Fantasy 15, which was at the time like the brand new, like cutting edge. You ain't seen shit like this, baby, ever. Except for Final Fantasy 13. Maybe 12. And 10. Oh, and then you get like halfway through this article, an expanding Final Fantasy universe. And just talking about the Kingsglaive movie. Oh my god, I was going to make a video about that. Like, when was I writing the Final Fantasy 15 essay? 2 Januaries ago now. And I watched Kingsglaive, and it was so, like, you ever watch a movie and you sit through it, like you're like, at some point, like it'll pay off. And then it ends and you're like, wow, I really just wasted 2.5 hours of my time, like willingly. I didn't even get anything from it. Like I was interested in like more story behind the game itself. And I was like, oh, it was a prequel movie. Like it came out before the actual game did. And it, like, it was supposed to be symbolic of some themes in the game, but not really all of them. It had Aaron Paul, but he's like weirdly CGI'd, but like it's still Aaron Paul. It was just very, very odd. And also just like I don't really care story, you know what I mean? Like I really cared about the Final Fantasy 15 like actual in-game what was going on, and then I watched the movie, I'm like, man, who gives a fuck? But that's just me complaining. The Banner Saga 2, like I don't know what the fuck this is talking about, but this is sick. But anyways, I'd like to give some closing thoughts on these Game Informers. I don't know if that was a lot of stuff to look at or a little bit for you. Like, I don't know, we're running on an hour of airtime here, so cut down, we're probably looking at like 45 minutes, right? Maybe less than that. But I think Game Informer is very special to me, very personally. It's near and dear to my heart. A lot of these just remind me of when I was a kid and when I was more easily excitable, which, some things I haven't felt since I was a kid. and sometimes the Game Informer brings me pretty close, like especially when it feels like it's scratching that Nintendo Power itch in my brain, because I know that one's never going to be scratched again. Like, they're done, they're over. But I think they're very important too, because they're like relics, like time capsules, and they're really reminiscent of the era in which it was published. And so going back through it, I get to like look at this in a lens that's like, oh, I'm looking at Dark Souls 3 in the previews, like that's probably my most played game that's not Destiny 2 to date. Or like I'm looking at the Final Fantasy 15 one, like that's been out for almost 10 years now. And it just brings me back. A lot of these, I think they all date from like at the earliest 2015 to at the very latest like 2019, 2020. And I think that they are very reminiscent of a period of time that I'm now getting like nostalgic for, which is very weird because like it doesn't feel, I don't know what happened after 2020. Definitely does not feel like 5 full years, but weirdly enough it feels like it should have been longer than that. But like I felt like we were perpetually in like 2016, 2017 for a while, and even like going into 2019 it's like it's not that big a deal. 2017 was just 2 years ago. It was 8 years ago. Give it 2 more years, it'll be 10 years old. Like, that is crazy. And someday in the 2030s, I'm gonna be like, God damn, now I'm nostalgic for 2020. Isn't that weird how that works? But I'm keeping these because it's hard for me in my head to like make sense of all the memories that float up there. Like, I really just get hit with them. But this is awesome because it gives me like a standardized, grounded way to re-experience what it was like to be into video games in this kind of era. That's really why I got these. It's for the nostalgia factor. I think magazines are very, very juicy nostalgia sponges, especially if it's something that you know, like I had Game Informer, I played video games, I knew about these, I was excited for all these games, and just reading back through it again and like, man, it just brings me to the other side when I was there reading it and it was fresh, a fresh motherfucking copy right in my hands. That was a good feeling. But I'm glad I found these things again. I'm really, really glad I have them. And I think I'm either going to frame them or I'm going to scan them. If scanning comes like within $40 of just framing it being better, I'll do that. But like, that's more cumbersome. I don't know. I'm just glad I had these. And I don't know if any, like one of you, if you're listening to me right now, thank you. Because like, why the fuck would you watch all the way through? You're playing a video game right now and I'm talking about magazines. Did you even pay attention? I hope you glanced down at least once or twice. And I know there's at least like 3 people who will be asleep by this point in the video. Wake up!